Official TV. We would like to thank you for tuning in, and we kindly ask, if it's the first time that you're tuning in, please press the subscribe button and the bell button so that you shouldn't miss any information that we post, because it is important. As you have a lot of work, as you are being occupied, you can listen to this as you are doing anything. It is helpful to follow us with the lessons. So before we start, shall we pray? Our gracious, kind, and loving Savior, who does up in the Most High, Father God, we want to say thank you for this blessed time, Almighty, and to everyone else who is listening to this. This is my humble prayer. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So, today's title is entitled The Debt Problem. So, basically, in our communities, this is not a new thing to us, because we usually have debts that sometimes we can't even manage to pay them off. But it is indeed a good news that this court has brought this lesson to us, so that we should be able to abide to the biblical concepts concerning debts. Now, what does God say about this? Let us read from Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. And it says, "And if you faithfully obey the voice of the Lord your God, being careful to do his commandments that I command you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations of the earth." This is what God will do. If you obey his commands, he will do what? He will set you above, higher, all the nations of the earth. Let's read again from Deuteronomy 28, verse 12. "The Lord will open to you his good treasury, the heavens, to give the rain to your land its season, and to bless all the work of your hand. And you shall lend to many nations, but you shall not borrow." Take note of the word, "but you shall not borrow." So, only this can be done if you obey God's commandments. So, why do we find ourselves in debt? So, the research has shown the three primary reasons why we find ourselves in debt. So the first reason is ignorance, because it's not only those who went to universities, those who finished the high secondary schools, or those who are highly educated, in short, to say they cannot find themselves in debt. They do find themselves in debt because they are ignorant of the knowledge concerning the principles that guides on how we should use our financials, our financials, and books that talks about how we should spend, how we should use our money. That is because we are ignorant. That's why we find ourselves into such. Imagine if you knew about it. Can you usually go into debts, or can you misuse your money? Definitely not, because Proverbs says, counsel in the heart of man is like deep water, but a wise man draws it out. So if you receive counsel, or if you obtain knowledge from somewhere how to use of your financials, which means if you are wise enough, you will be able to draw that concept and do what is required. So that means you aren't ignorant about a certain thing that you are doing at that particular time. So what else is greed? The second principle the second reason why we find ourselves in debt crisis is greed or selfishness. People are willing to live beyond their measures. You know that you can't afford to buy. Let me give an example of among the youths who like expensive things. They want to live beyond their measures just because they see others are affording big or expensive or luxury things. So they want also to have them and feel they are part of that class. That's the reason why they find themselves into debt, because if they want something and they cannot live according to that measure, but they really want that thing, they'll definitely go into borrowing money so that they should buy something. At the end of the time, they would manage to pay it back. The third is personal misfortune. So it's not only that away from ignorance or greed or selfishness, personal misfortune. Maybe you were born in a poor family. We have no way we can explain that, or maybe a natural disaster whereby all your financial, your status was swallowed. Maybe it was a big storm. You used to have money, but due to circumstances, due to such misfortune, you were unable to live according to how you were before such a disaster or misfortune. But provided all those three reasons that we've stated here, the good news is there is hope for change. Surely we can change, and we can be able to amplify ourselves out of such crisis and live accordingly to how God requires us to live. So, following godly counsel, this is what God kept for us as counsel to you who are listening to this. So, as we know that the world is hard and we are just material beings, so we have to be made of steel. Provided that we know that no, this is just flesh and we can't be able to live at that or to meet our goals. But provided that we have God and He always gives us counsel so that we should enjoy it and possess, so that at that particular time when we get that counsel, we'll be able to change. So the temptation of money ruins men's souls. So money is highly tempting. When we see, let me say, I want to buy an iPhone, of which a lot desire to, because it has good features, and as youths, they just want highly expensive things. So this will mean that I'll be tempted to fall into debt crisis. So money is highly tempting. So we must stay faithful and not make money as our idols. So besides trying to get ourselves into debt crisis, or we might maybe increase the time of which we work to obtain a lot of money. So obtaining a lot of money is not a problem, but making it your idol, that's where the problem comes in. This, for example, you were just working from Sunday then to Friday, then you rest for the Sabbath. But since you want to make higher, because you have higher objectives to meet, you say, okay, just for this month, let me just work even on Sabbath. Remember, you are breaking God's command, and you are making money your idol, because you are putting it forth on straight in front of anything else above the one who created you. So that isn't a good thing, because if you say, okay, let me just try only this month, it will persistently go over and over, not until you say, okay, I'm done with worshiping. That's how money can take you. That's how far money can tempt you. So we must stay faithful. Remember that Matthew 6 verse 24 says, there is a context that says you cannot save God and money. This is where the issue of returning tithe and offering comes in. So when you are returning tithe and offering, that simply means you are even saying, okay, God, I'm nothing. You gave me this and I offer you this, because I observe you more than anything else here on earth. You are surrendering everything that you have. Now, if you aren't doing that, which means you are trying to save God and money, of which you can't do both at the same time. So you have to choose which one you must worship, and the one who must be worshipped is only God, who is in heaven, and Him alone. So, because death is one of Satan's nets that he sets for souls. No, the devil sometimes uses debts as a trap to get some souls. Imagine you have a lot of debts, but you don't have any means to pay them back. What will be the result of such a thing? Obviously, you will try by all means you can even leave your church just because you want to settle your debts. And you want to have more time, and that more time that you want, you are putting money first than God. So this means that since God wants to be worshipped, He gives you counsel and guidelines on how you can do this, on how you can deal with the issues of money. So it just makes sense that God would like to see His children debt-free. So this whole thing makes sense, since the devil puts traps to trap children of God into debt. Then God also wants His children, so He really wants you to be debt-free. You cannot be in debt right now, but a time will come that, you know, life is in season, so you may find yourself in such a situation. Listen to this carefully, and you will never go into debt crisis, because God doesn't want His children to be in debt, but He wants them debt-free. So what you have to do is to offer God's sacrifice and thanksgiving, tithe and offering that we know. So remember your vows. So for those who are baptized in their, okay, let me say in Adventist, for those who are baptized, there are some vows that they made, which includes of giving your tithe and offerings. So, as Psalms 50 verse 14 to 15 says, you must remember those vows that you made to God. Now, if you abandon those vows and you made them to God, then what are you trying to depict, or what are you trying to show? Definitely, you're trying to say, okay, what I'm doing here, or what I chose, what I vowed, I myself, it's nothing. So which means you lied to God, and you know that you can't do such a thing to the one who created you. So we must be so how can we get out of debt? Let's read from the book of Proverbs, chapter 22 verse 7. It says, the rich rules over the poor, and borrowers is slave of the lender. So what does this implies? What is it trying to say? If you lend money, you are just putting yourself into slavery, because you want to be free to work according to how you feel you should work, because something is telling you to say. Even if that person is not telling you to say, okay, I want my money back, or I want this, or even that, just that very same person just call you to say, come and do something for me, even without touching to your debt, you would do so because you know that this someone helped me at a certain point. So you are actually getting yourself into slavery. So these are the steps that we must take to be out of debt. So the first step is to declare moratorium on additional debt. This means that if you have debt already, then you declare yourself to say, okay, I have this amount. This is what you have to do right now if you are in debt. If you are in debt, this is what you are supposed to do right now. So declare yourself to say, I won't be in debt again. So if you can't borrow money again, which means you won't increase the debt amount. You won't increase it. So that's the very first step that you should take. Never never get an additional debt. Then the second step to get yourself out of debt is to say, is to make a covenant with God. To say, the moment that God, you will bless me, I'll pay off my debt. The moment that you will bless me, I'll pay off my debt. Remember that the first time you declared not to increase your debt, not to get any debt. Then this time you are willing to pay it off once you get blessed, as quickly as possible. So the third step that you can take is make a list of all the people that you owe. You make the list from in an increasing order, from the smallest to the largest amount that you owe. Then, when God blesses you, you should be paying them off, starting from the smallest in month, not at the same time, because you can't manage. So you won't even realize how you will finish from the smallest to the largest. And from the smallest, that will become your income as you be paying off those who are owing the large amount, because those who are having those to whom those who are owing a small amount, it will be cleared off. So as you follow that process, which means you'll be having a debt freedom slowly but sure. So let your conduct be without covetousness. Do not look at anything and to say, okay, I like that one, I like that thing, and I wish it was just mine. These are not convert. So just be content with what you have. Live according to your measure of life. So God said, I will never leave you nor forsake you, in Hebrews 3 verse 5. So which means, as you are doing all those steps, remember that God is still with you, and you'll be debt free, because God doesn't want you to be in debt. He wants you debt free, because debt is a trap that the devil may use to take you out of Christ's way. So what's the surety? The surety and get rich quick schemes. You know, people want to get rich very, very quick. Now, what does this quote tell you about the surety and get rich schemes? So God does not want his children to become responsible for the debt obligation of the others. He doesn't want you to involve, maybe you are rich and you are willing to help. Now imagine in a circumstance, or in a situation whereby a person wants to get a loan. And you know, when getting a loan, it doesn't mean, it's not that easy, because they will want something to withhold, and you have nothing. So imagine a person comes to you and say, okay, I want to get a loan, and I want you to help me with such a thing which the bank can withhold. So which means, if you help that person, you are not really helping that person, since you are getting that person into debt, which means you are simply adding more stress to that person. So God does not want you to become a fault of other people's debt. They must be free from debt. So it's not good to help someone to be in debt, or just to connect them to say, oh, you want debt, you want such amount. I know someone who can give you such amount, but you have to pay. And you are not just supposed to pay it, they will demand interest. You're adding more stress to that person. So God does not want you to connect such a debt crisis into your friends or your relatives. Getting rich very quick, it's another problem that especially youths that face. We know everyone needs money, but getting rich that quick. If someone says, come I show you how you can get money very quick, that person is lying to you. The quote says, walk away from that person. In fact, run, because it's not a safe side for you. We know schemes whereby they introduce you to a certain work, or most of the times they are online thing, whereby you invest your money and that person who invites you is also getting something, the chain is connecting. So those people who are telling you, okay, come, I want to show you how to make money very quick, it's for their own self-benefits, not for you, because at the end of the time, you will lose out and you will have nothing to do at the end of the time, because they just wanted interest from you joining them. So, what are the terms and limits? The term limits and borrowing points. When can you borrow or return? So we are told here that Lord cares about our kinds of financial issues. Yeah, he does. Because he also emphasized that it was to be avoided as much as possible. So we must avoid getting ourselves into debt, because as we have mentioned several times, that debt is devil's trap. Once you enter into a debt, it will be a way of you trying so hard, multiplying your time of work, and at the end of the time, leaving God side because you are stressed out and you really want to cover up your debt. So try to get all the grants and scholarship you can that you qualify. So we find ourselves into different situations or different circumstances whereby we see them to say, okay, this is a need of my child to go to school, or at universities, or a person or my child should continue with secondary schools. So getting debts, okay, it's simply you are trying to make your child's future bright, but getting into debt is not a solution to that, because you are just adding more problems. So the quota is saying, try by all means to get the grant. You know the grant, you won't have any interest to pay it back, because you are just given as free thing. It's just free to you. And if it's a scholarship, all the scholarship that you can qualify, try it and get it. Do not fail to try. Or do not try to fail, at least fail because you've tried. But by all measures, try to get the scholarship that you qualify, instead of getting into debt that you cannot handle at some point. There might be times when it is necessary to borrow. You know, you will find yourself in different circumstances or situations whereby you say, okay, at this point in time, I have nothing else to do but to borrow. Let me say rentals, and the person owning the premises tells you to pay by tomorrow or you'll be chased out of the house. That is simply you won't even have a second thought, because you don't have any means to do that. Such circumstances, we encounter them in life. So the thing is, just make sure that you have the best deal possible and the best interest rate available. So the interest deal and interest rate is that The money that we borrow, well, they are asking, maybe you may have good friends who say, okay, to me, it won't be that much. Since I'm just trying to help you, don't go for large amounts that will attract you to pay a lot of interest, because that interest will add stress again onto you. So it's very important that you keep track of going to conditions, because in such a case you don't have anything to do. It's really pointing you to say, okay, you have nothing to do here, but follow the terms and conditions that are less to add, not to add more stress to you. So by following biblical financial principles, our daily lives, we can go a long way towards avoiding unnecessary debts. Mark the word unnecessary. Not only anytime you are finding yourself into debt. That means you aren't in a good terms with the knowledge that you're getting. So avoid unnecessary debts and terrible strain. It can put us and our families into trouble, and we may not be able to pay them back. So the further thought, the quote here says, deny yourselves 1,000 things rather than run into debt. Do not run into debt. This is what it simply saying. Make sure, do anything possible, anything, to make sure that you won't find yourself into debt crisis. And all no man anything if you live. All man are nothing. And do not be discouraged. We have seen that despite all the problems that we find ourselves in debate, God assures us to say He is also concerned about our financial issues, and He will never forsake you nor leave you behind. So we have to wake them off as quickly as possible. For us who think that budgeting is not important, budgeting is also very important, because you will know how to use a certain amount at that particular time. Even those 3 principles that will help you to clear off your debt, they are also part of the budget, because you will know how much you will pay to such a person, and as time goes by, you will be able to clear off all the debts, and you'll be surprised that you've cleared all the debts. So we have what we call credit cards, whereby you just go in a shop, right, or you don't even have any money, but you buy using a credit card. So the more you are using a credit card, that money is not, because you don't have it, as the more you are using the credit card, the more you find yourself in the debt, because the bank is recording all the debts that you have. So it's better that, as the quote is saying, just crush the credit card off, because it won't help you in any way. You'll be very much comfortable to say, okay, even if I don't have money, let me just stay here home, and if I want to buy something, I'll go and use my credit card, which means you are just increasing the debts that you have. They are, those credit cards, they are very easy to use, very easy. But to clear them off, that's where the job is. It's very hard. So destroy your credit cards and make sure that we are debt free Remember to follow all the principles that are highlighted in here. And remember that God will always be with you and will never forsake you. Okay. Thank you for going with me during all the time from time we started. And God bless you. Let us pray. Our gracious, kind, and loving Savior, who dwells out in the faith areas. Father God, we want to say thank you for growing with us, Almighty Father, from the time we started. We thank you for the knowledge and wisdom that you have given unto us, Almighty. May you please help us not to be ignorant of whatever we've gotten from here. Help us share with others, Almighty, so that we shouldn't find ourselves into dead places because of ignorance or because of any means. May you please come and go with us today and forevermore. This is my humble prayer. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.